Could we try another one? Since I lost 3 minutes. I'll take those 3 minutes back from the...
You have them.
Protestants and Catholics would undoubtedly agree that according to God's absolute will, he could have made a written document the sole authority in the Church. We would further no doubt agree that it was his ordained will to allow the fall, with the result that the human heart became hard-hearted toward the things of God. The question is, would God have had the power to inspire a written document and make it the sole authority in the Church, charging a fault of misunderstanding to the sinful human heart? Following the Scriptures, the Protestants believe that misunderstanding the Scriptures is to be charged to the hard-heartedness of people, not to God's shoddy skills in written communications. As Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4:4, the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel. When Jesus speaks in parables, a method chosen purposely to make understanding difficult, he lays ultimate responsibility for misunderstanding not on his words, but on those who hear them and fail to understand. Quoting the prophet Isaiah, Jesus says, This people's heart has become callous. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them." The implication is that even in the case where God has purposely spoken in an obscure manner, people could still understand the Scriptures if they were not so hard-hearted. Was Jesus wrong when he taught that?
No, he was not. I'd like to ask a question as a way of answering that, and that is, if you apply the very principle that you're defending here tonight, Sola Scriptura, to a key issue such as baptismal regeneration, two of you I can identify for sure disagree on that issue. Mike, I'm not sure, where you fall in that category. Rod, you believe in baptismal regeneration based on what the Scripture says.
Yes.
Bob denies that, says that baptismal regeneration is not true. Baptism is merely the sign and seal of the inward change that God had made through sanctification. Which of you is the hard-hearted one? Which of you is the blind one? Which of you is the ignorant one? Both of you are going to the Scriptures, and you're coming up with diametrically opposed views. And under the rubric that you just specified, one of you must be blind, ignorant, and unwilling to look at the truth.
No, we wouldn't have to draw it out like that you are a hard-hearted man, therefore you don't see it. We don't hold to the position that the Scripture is basically obscure and dark.
Right.
We can always say to each other, I thought of something else, I'm going to call you. But we're always going to the bar of that.
Right.
We don't have a church that can solve this for us.
See, that's the unfortunate thing, and we invite you back to the church that can solve this
I
for
understand.
you. You see?
Evidently. I understand. With some of the history, though, you'll understand that Protestants are not especially impressed with what was going on just prior to the Reformation. That would be invited back, but I thank you for the offer.
Rod, we'll leave the light on for you.
If I may...
Yeah, we've got 1 minute.
Okay, if I might ask one question on that same point. You know, there's a real romanticism here that people ought to recognize. They're reading back a really Victorian, John Cardinal Henry Newman view of the church that isn't there in the history. Popes recognized they contradicted each other. Councils recognized they contradicted each other. That wasn't a problem for them as it is for our opponents. Arians, Nestorians, Pelagians, popes sometimes favored one heresy and then recognized that heresy was in fact a heresy. In the 14th and 15th centuries, 3 popes reigned, and all of Europe was under the excommunication of one pope or another. It was the Avignon papacy. In the 16th century, 12 schools ruled at the Sorbonne and condemned each other as heretical. Today, you have even more diversity with Ratzinger, Küng, Schillebeeckx, Rahner, and others. You seem to have the same problem that we do. Your magisterium doesn't seem to clear things up any better than our lack of clarity in understanding the Scriptures.
That's a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, very rhetorical.
By the way, Mike, welcome. I just wanted to say hi to you.
Thank you. I was lonely.
Granted, we are... I'm going to take this one. Granted, there are controversies all throughout Christian history. And thank God for the Catholic Church that it was strong enough to squash the Arian heresy and every other heresy that came down the pike.
Not every heresy.
Yeah, we still have to work on a couple. The fact is that if you look at the official statements of the Catholic Church, not what Hans Küng believes, not what Karl Rahner believes, not what some heretic in the 13th century believed who claimed he was Pope, but what the official Catholic Church teaching is, there is one deposit of faith, and there are many heretics who may choose to believe that faith or not believe that faith. So it is a straw man argument to attack people who differed with the Catholic Church within the Catholic Church when we claim that the official teaching has never changed. If you can point to one dogma that has changed in 2,000 years, I'll become a Protestant again.
Thank you again for the cross-examination. We now move into the rebuttal mode.